What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Real Talk, and we have a great guest here for you today. It's Joe Dahl, who's the general counsel for Magic Eden. You know how much we love the Magic Eden platform. Really excited to have Joe on the podcast today because he's a wealth of information. He's been in the Web3 space for quite some time. I certainly have some questions for him, and it's always nice to have some legal representation here to figure out what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So really excited to have Joe on. How you doing today?
I'm good, Brian. Great to be on, man. And want to say it. Start out. No legal advice being given here, but happy to be here. Happy to chat.
Yeah, exactly. No legal advice, no financial advice. That's not what we do here. Right. But we talked all things Web3. And Joe's a wealth of knowledge. We were kind of chopping it up before we went live here recording, and really excited to ask him some of the questions. And I guess before we dive into it, Joe, I would love to know a little bit about your background, maybe like how you got into the wild world we call Web3.
Yeah, man. So I've been in for, I think, early 2017, like end of 2016. I really kind of dove in. Bitcoin had gone over $1,000 again. I was like, whoa, like this thing is back. This is crazy. And I just never looked back. Been an attorney at large law firms for a while, representing a bunch of clients in the space. Binance, Coinbase, Yuga, some of the biggest names, Magic Eden, OpenSea. And then, I met this team at Magic Eden. I was like, this is the best team I've worked with by a freaking mile. And if I'm going to take a shot at like leaving a law firm and getting into this industry full time that I love so much, this is the team I want to do it with. So I've been at Magic Eden for almost 3 years now and just loving every minute of it.
Oh, I love that. And we were talking about before we jumped on. So he knows it's sincere here. It's not just because we're on the podcast. I'm a huge fan of the Magic Eden team. I've met some of those guys personally. I think they are lights out, one of the best teams in the entire space. And they had that recent token drop. I'm a big fan of it, not financial advice, but I was telling you before the podcast, I was like, I got a pretty healthy token drop. I do my fair share of degenning across NFTs and runes and pretty much everywhere. And I really locked up pretty much like 90% of my tokens staking wise. Again, that's not financial advice for anybody. That was my own personal decision. But kind of when I heard the vision, what Magic Eden had for the token and what they're trying to build and what they've done up until this point, it makes me just so bullish. That's really more of a comment, but just love that you're connected with Magic Eden and what you're building out there.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. We're really excited for the future. It's really like, this whole new age into where there is a token is special, right? Because that takes this, centralized company and really decentralizes it. It gives power to the people, the users, and that's pretty special.
Yeah, it sure is. And this is why I'm so happy to have you on. I'm curious about like the legal ramifications of dropping a token. It feels like I was telling you before we jumped on, I worked at DraftKings, and I worked with our lawyers, and they were like my favorite people at DraftKings. I love everybody out there, but they're some of my favorite people because I was working with them so often on like everything, like dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and it really opened my eyes just how much red tape there is out there. And especially, I guess, in DraftKings' point of view, they have like a lot of regulations state by state because they're a gambling platform and they have DFS, and there was just like they're like, we can do it in these states, we can't do it in this states, and I was like, so what can we do exactly? So really hats off to you for what you've done out there at Magic Eden. Kind of walk me through a little bit about like that, the whole token drop. When did that come to fruition? Well, I guess like from start to finish, curious because it's such an amazing feat.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I think you're totally right, Brian. Like launching a token is not without like legal risk, right? And then really it's like this is how like we view as a crypto attorney who's been practicing crypto law for 8 years now. This is a lot of people say like, oh, it's the Wild West in crypto. There's no rules. Actually, it's the opposite. Because there's no like actual legislation that tells you what the rules are, you have to assume every rule applies. So you have to like comply with securities laws, commodity laws, the tax rules, the Bank Secrecy Act stuff, all of it at once. If we get some comprehensive bill that says like these are the rules of the road, this is what's applicable, it's going to be so much easier for everybody involved. And it's pretty exciting. I mean, look at this new administration. You have David Sachs come out really as this crypto czar who's been tasked with creating clarity, regulatory clarity, maybe establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And frankly, man, they're going to kick things off with a not a CBDC, right, but a stablecoin, dollar-backed stablecoin, an official one. And the day that he did his press conference, the SEC came out with their own press release saying that they're not going to do regulation by enforcement anymore. A huge statement. And the CFTC, the commodities regulator, had the exact same thing on the exact same day. So coordination across the agencies, all saying we're going to take a more appropriate approach to this industry and let it really flourish, which is exciting because like once you have that kind of foundation, the sky's the limit for what products in this space can build. So it's really exciting times.
Yeah, I think that's what we all want is just some clarity. Just give us an idea of where we're allowed to play on the playground here. You know, what can we do? What can't we do? And I think everybody would be very comfortable with that at the end of the day. And some things that really I watched that David Sachs interview press conference very closely, and they made some very bullish statements. Obviously, I think we all kind of knew we were trending towards stable coins and how that can empower the US dollar. And I don't know. It just seems like some people in the administration right now really get it. While not bashing the past administration, this is not a political show by any means, but it just seems like there was such a big disconnect at the end of the day. And granted, I'm biased. I mean, I work in the world of Web3. I love decentralization. I love capitalism. I feel like I love all of that. Like, I feel like there's like a really strong path there. So I love to see the administration taking the proper steps to make those sort of things happen. And something that really caught my eye, and I don't think it was at the press conference, but the FDIC made some banking guideline updates. I mean, that's huge too, right?
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Brian. So like, I know you said like, I don't want to be biased here. Like, I love capitalism. Like, no harm or foul against the prior administration. And I'm generally politically neutral as well. But this Operation Choke Point 2.0, are you familiar with this?
Yeah. Yeah, our audience might not be, so give them a head down, but I'm familiar.
Yeah, this is pretty wild stuff. And if people aren't familiar with it, they really should be, because what this was Operation Choke Point 2.1 was I think it was the Obama administration at the time. They said we don't like the marijuana industry at the time. So we can't really regulate it super well. But what we'll do is we'll tell all the banks to stop providing banking services to those companies. So they can't pay their people. They can't like put the money they make in a bank account. They have to carry cash, which is like dangerous and like not efficient. And it was a big problem. It created like crazy headwinds for that industry. Fast forward, and they did the exact same playbook for crypto. So a bunch of crypto projects. I mean, these are American entrepreneurs, many of the times, and they're like employing people. They're innovating. Like, this is kind of what the backbone of the country is built on. And like just mass debanking, right? Hey, sorry, we're shutting your bank account down. You have to get your money out in a couple days. Hey, sorry, you can't set up a new bank account, even though you're a new project and you're very promising. Maybe even have some VC funding or whatever, and you're employing 20, 30 people with like decent jobs in this space. Too bad. No banking for you. So how do you pay your people? You can't. Like, that's terrible. And people for a long time, crypto folks would kind of complain about this, like, it's such a huge problem. And the administration kind of like denied it, said this is not happening. This is paranoia by the crypto industry. There was a hearing yesterday in Congress where they specifically clicked on this, and FDIC came out and dropped all these documents saying 23 pause letters were sent from the administration to banks, encouraging them not to bank crypto companies. It was like it was what we thought it was. We weren't being paranoid. It was actually what was happening. So like it went beyond like, hey, it's uncertain, and hey, some of the regulators are acting in bad faith by going after companies and trying to shut them down versus regulate them, to just trying to suffocate, literally choke point, trying to suffocate the industry in the United States. Craziness. So to have like, it's such a sea change, Brian. And like, no administration is perfect. Whatever rules come out, I'm sure people have problems with. Some people will like parts of it, whatever it is. At least we have an administration in a country that's pro crypto and is willing to allow innovation to come around. And that's all we're asking for.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's great news to see that some of those things are lightening up. And I don't know if anybody's ever tried to buy a home and you have a majority of your wealth in crypto. I mean, you could be like, I have like $800,000 in Bitcoin, and they're just like, sorry, that doesn't cut it. And it seems like that's going to change. Luckily, I didn't run into that issue, but I have some really close friends. You bring up the marijuana industry. I have some very close friends who have made a fortune investing in the marijuana industry 10, 15 years ago. And they've talked about that for years, just how difficult it was to just like onboard and how big of a risk it was. And I don't know. I just love to see the positive movement we're seeing in the crypto industry, and we're only a couple weeks into this administration. I like to see the price go up a little bit more. I mean, what's up with that?
Yeah, it's a pretty like we're recording this on what the sixth. It's a pretty
Yeah,
bloody day
so
today.
who knows where we'll be in who knows where we'll be when this episode releases. Hopefully way higher, but like you said, it's a little bloody today.
I think so. I think so. But I mean, hey, man, like, I think I have like the privilege of a little bit of wisdom being in the industry for like 8 years now. These days, like 20% drop, it's like you don't really pay too much attention to. You're like, yeah, we know where we're going. I'm looking out into the next cycle, 2028, 2029. Like that's what I'm like looking for my time on. So in between now and then, if it goes up, it goes down, that's great. But eyes on the future, eyes on the prize. But I mean, we're going to look at some major catalysts for the industry this year. If that impacts price, great. If not, I guess we'll see. But I mean, talking about like a major like dollar stablecoin bill, what that's going to do, like overnight, Brian, we're going to have money market funds be able to be on chain, trillions of dollars of value. We'll just suddenly have like regulatory clarity, and like that's just going to be that's not necessarily like the retail revolution that we've all been kind of hoping for, but that takes the world and moves it on chain in a huge way. I mean, right now there's like $200 billion approximately of like daily stable coin volume around the globe between Tether and USDC and whatever.
And
If you
that's
have,
like
and that's
that's like more than Visa, right? I've read that somewhere. Like that's more than Visa. I think I read or somebody told me that. Has to be
I'm not
close.
sure, but it's crazy numbers, right? Like, and this is before there's like a clear regulatory path. And many of these banks and like financial institutions, market participants, they're not going to get into this space in a real way with real volume, real size until there's actual rules that they know they're complying with. Because they're banks, they have to do these things, right? They take people's money. But once you have that bill set in place, man, the sky's the limit. Like, I mean, you're going to have the dollar on chain within 12, 18 months. And then suddenly the whole world is on chain. And once you're on chain, it's like you don't go back, right? It's just a better experience. Like, so I'm very, very excited for stablecoin legislation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the sky's the limit, like you said. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I'm very excited. And we're joking about the price because I don't know, you've been in crypto for a very, very long time. I've been in crypto for a very long time. I mean, I feel beaten down some days. But I tell some of my good friends that like I've onboarded into crypto and a lot of them out there and a lot of them have done well and others maybe onboarded just recently and they're down a little bit. I'm like, listen, man, like these are on sale. If you're in like we're gonna talk about the meme coins, we're gonna talk about the AI sector. There's some blood out there, obviously, but like a lot of these projects with good teams, good vision that are building every single day, these prices are on sale. Bitcoin under $100,000, and I can't even believe I'm saying this because years ago that was a pipe dream. When are we gonna get 100 grand? Feels cheap, even though something's expensive. It feels cheap, which is really amazing. I want to bring something up here, and I brought it up whenever we were talking, and I think that new SEC commissioner, Hester Pierce, she made some really interesting statements recently. And what is it? If people want to buy a token or product that lacks clear long-term value proposition, they should feel free. Don't be surprised one day if the price drops. And I kind of like shared this with my community here, and I'm looking at the post, and I was like, she just gets it. Like, just
Yeah.
like we're in a volatile space, and volatility necessarily is not a bad thing. But if you understand the risks, and honestly, anybody in crypto, at least right now, should understand the risks if you're getting into. I just want the freedom to invest. What are your thoughts on those statements? And I'm not sure if you saw them, but curious about your overall view.
Yeah, Brian, I'm glad you brought up Commissioner Peirce. She's, in my mind, arguably, one of the top thinkers on crypto in DC. Which years ago wasn't saying much, but now it is. There's a lot of smart people thinking about this stuff in DC, and she's great, right? I mean, she's crypto mom, right? That's like her old moniker. Um, she's great. I mean, when you had Gary Gensler at the helm at the SEC, she was a commissioner and would often write dissents and say things like, "Hey, this is stifling American innovation." I remember famously what like Stoner Cat or Impact Theory, one of the NFT cases that came out. She wrote a sentence saying, "Do you remember when they sold Star Wars action figures or like certificates to get Star Wars action figures? Like, would those be securities? You have to do an IPO to launch these things? No, this is a major headwind to American innovation and like basic consumer like progress and activity. So like she just gets it. Like she really really understands it. And I'm so happy that Mark Ueda, the acting commissioner for Paul Atkins, come in, immediately established a sort of crypto task force and put Hester at the front of this thing. She, I think 2018, 2019, she came out with the safe harbor proposal. I'm not sure if you heard of this or not, but it's like the best framework I've seen for how to regulate this space. It's, because we have this decentralization with this very cool thing where it says like, hey, a project can start something. It can create free open source software anyone can use, anyone can build on, like just modular stuff that like can kind of propel a new age of internet where you don't have single companies, monopolies owning, dominating data, dominating users, turning them into products, but you actually have a ground up accretion of wealth. And that starts with protocols that issue tokens, right? In Web 1, we had protocols that were very much like this, open source. They allowed the internet to flourish and grow, and that's why we got the internet. This is HTTPS, things like that. But there was no token associated with them, no value. Now we have these same little base protocols that can have a token. It allows people to participate in the future of the internet in a way that like makes them like owners versus being owned by monopolists that sit on top of the internet. And that's like such a shift. And securities laws are meant to say, back in the day, Great Depression, because like that was 28. After that, you had the securities laws come out, 33, 34, because people got wrecked. Great Depression, it was horrible. And the big sort of like policy goal was to say, hey, there's information asymmetry. People on Wall Street know stuff that we don't, and we got ripped off, right? This is bad stuff. That's like the underlying goal here. Hester says, hey, we realize that these tokens, they start as something that there is information asymmetry. The team knows a lot about them, more than like the public does. But we know over time, there's so much more than just like a stock. This is a fundamental building block of like the future of the internet. And that's different. That shouldn't be regulated like a traditional stock would be, like an Apple stock would be. So there needs to be a path towards this thing that allows people to sort of innovate and sort of walk down that path. That doesn't like destroy value for everyone involved or shut the project down. So she proposed this safe harbor. It says, hey, you start this thing out, you launch this token, this protocol, and you have a bunch of disclosures. You disclose all these things about like all the details of the community. You get out there, you do things like we're doing where you say, this is what's going on with it. Then over time, you decentralize it. And you step more and more away and you kind of like let the project itself just do its own thing. And you just keep the transparency going. You keep people in the loop so they can make their own decisions, right? We have very patriarchal like sort of structure right now that says like, you're not a credit investor. You don't deserve to have an opportunity. Well, guess what? Like this is in the 1930s. We have the internet now. We can research things, right? I mean, and on chain, it's even better. You can watch where money's moving on chain. Like it's much more accountable, much more transparent. So like I think just want to like you hit it like a point with me. I think she's fantastic. She really, really gets it. I'm so excited for what she's going to bring to the table.
She's the best, man. She really is. Like like her statement the other day, I was just like, could someone have like just taken my brain and what I think about every single day and put it into a way that I can't really talk? She nails it. I absolutely love it. I think was it David Sachs like a week or two ago? He said that NFTs and meme coins aren't securities. Was that him who said that?
Yeah, there was some statement around. I think he was on like a Fox News interview. I think it was like 8 minutes
Yeah.
long or so. And they asked him about, I think they asked him about the Trump coin, if I'm remembering correctly. And his response was like, "Hey, digital assets take all shapes and sizes, and some can be securities, right? Like, if you were to take, for example, Apple stock, move it on chain, that's a token, right? But it's also security. That's fine, right? It's got its own rules. But things like meme coins, these are just cultural movements, right? And rather than like a meme getting hot on Instagram and then Facebook selling us a bunch of ads every time we look at it, like this is like a meme gets hot, everyone participates in it and owns a little piece of the upside of it, and like can have fun and like have a little community and vibes around it. And that's like him recognizing that is like, wow, like he gets it. And NFTs as well. I mean, NFTs are clearly cultural, fun consumer things. Like these are not securities. And it's just so refreshing to hear someone who's that close to the president, like the cryptos are, like really get it.
Yeah, you nailed it there, and I couldn't agree more. And for a long time there, like in my early crypto days, I disliked meme coins, like Dogecoin. I was like, this doesn't even make sense. It's inflationary. I was trading it for just more sats. If I just stopped trading it, I would have been absolutely retired on a beach for the rest of my life. That's how much Dogecoin I had at one time in like 2000. 17, something like that. It was 16. It was a crazy, but I was just trying to get a little bit more Bitcoin. But over the past, I'd say like year and a half, a little bit before like the masses, I really started to understand meme coins overall, how they can be a marketing mechanism, how they have this cult-like following, and just they're fun at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Now, there's no denying that it's like an online casino a little bit with like some of these Solana meme coins where they're like going up and going down. And they're still trying to get a little bit more sophisticated at the end of the day. But there's some meme coins out there that really have made themselves known and really developed a story around them that I don't see them going anywhere. And you touched base that Trump and his family, or I guess Trump or his associates dropped the Trump meme coin. I would love to know your thoughts there, kind of like how that all broke down, your initial thoughts, and then I guess I'm gonna ask this in the same question. What are your thoughts about like political meme coins, like this Trump coin, being used in the future for like political fundraising and just associating with that candidate in some form or fashion?
Yeah, man, I really like that second question because we've seen some of this. It's like really cool. Also, like I'm getting vibes back to like election cycle political coins, like Geo Biden and then some of those, like Trump, I think, or what was the Trump
I
one? Trump.
I was so Trump. I was so into
Yeah,
those coins. Like basically just, and it is like kind of like just huge speculating, but I was like, who's gonna be the VP candidate? And like Kamala Harris and Trump, and none of it had like I didn't have a political I wasn't investing it because of my political affiliation by any means. I was just trying to catch like, hey, this JD Vance coin, I forget what his coin was, or Vivek Ramaswamy coin's gonna go off. And I was like in and out of these coins trying to it's almost like playing a prediction market using those coins.
a little bit. Yeah, it was definitely like kind of that was the first time I'd seen something like that. Like wow, like meme coins to like as like a social signal. It was like such a phenomenon, and I think you're right, Brian. Like it really has progressed to something that's like totally new and novel. So yeah, when sorry, so Trump coin drops, I'm at my in-laws' place, like visiting them for the weekend, and I'm like, this is like the most wild crypto weekend in like 2 years. Like I'm just like trying to not be glued to my phone. It was just nuts. Um, Melania drops, Trump, just gets halved immediately. The whole market just goes, oh no. So that was like, it's wild. It's a lot of fun. It's exciting to see the president of the United States using Solana, by the way. I mean, there's sort of this
Yeah.
like, that's one thing that I think was kind of overlooked because, we're in the trenches, man. Like we understand that Solana has like this kind of pole position. It really is. It's where like all the tokens are being created, meme coins, it's got NFTs, it's got great DeFi with like Jupe and things like that. It's got, great fungible NFT marketplace like Magic Eden, of course. But Solana really has taken major pole position. And when Trump dropped on Solana, we talked to folks in DC and stuff like that, and every single one of them is like, wait, what's Solana? So suddenly, like this, there's been a spotlight on Sol that didn't prior exist, and I think that probably bodes well for the whole Solana ecosystem, in the long term. So that's like a cool thing to point out. But man, that second part of your question of is this like a new era in using coins to like basically raise funds for like political fundraising, basically for campaigns, things like that? I think you nailed it. Like, Trump's been very innovative on that front. Like he sold the mega hat, right? Initially, they made millions and
Yeah.
millions on the hat, and they sold like the watches and the crazy shoes and like all this stuff. He also sold 3 NFT collections. And we worked with the team on those, and it's kind of nuts because that was a very innovative way to raise funds for an election. So I think that like a lot of kudos to his team to be bold and do innovative things and have success in it. And I think that going forward, we'll see pick your next candidate. Gretchen Whitmer, Democrat from Michigan, governor, probably could run in 4 years. The Whitmer coin or whatever could launch, and like I would not be surprised whatsoever. Or like very similar to Trump coins, where or his NFTs that gave you a right to if you collected a number of them, you're able to like get dinner with him. Like
Mhm.
things like that provide real world experiences with important people. I think we're just tip of the iceberg there, and it's very exciting to see the president of the United States innovating.
Yeah, the one thing that stuck out to me with the Trump coin is, well, for one, that was launched on Solana. Solana like surged,
Yeah.
the price of Solana surged. Everybody was just scrambling to buy Sol so they could buy the Trump coin. The Melania coin, I'm a little salty about that. We're just
Yeah, I
gonna
think we
because
all are.
that Trump coin was speed running to a
It's a
hundred
top
dollar.
10 coin, and they just, it took
Yeah,
out his knees.
yeah, and I get it, but I still think there's actually some opportunity there. Again, not financial advice, but the one thing that really stuck out to me was Solana, him choosing Solana to launch the coin and people just like rushing there. And it onboarded more normies and retail people than I've ever seen. And Joe, who's usually my co-host here, talked about his mom actually reached out to him about the Trump coin before he
Wow.
told her about it, which is unheard of because like we got lucky that we were in on it like super early, like when I thought it was a scam at like 700 and some million, and I'm like texting some people, I'm like, what's going on? Like last 15 minutes of this coin, I go, this can't be him. He got hacked, and I was
Yeah.
in it. Then I was out of it at 2 billion because I was like, this is a hack. There's no way this happened. And then I see like the Jupiter tweet and like then Trump's tweet, and I'm like, I'm back in. I'm like, whoa, this is such a wild ride. I can't believe this is happening right now. And I was shocked how it was like kind of stealth dropped. And I think they had like the crypto ball that night. It was like a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And my wife, and I have 4 little kids. My wife was like, what are you doing? Like, I'm just like pacing, looking at my phone. I go, I don't know if you understand this, but President of the United States dropped this meme coin, and she's not like huge into crypto, so she was probably just like put your phone down and have dinner with us. But it's something that I will remember forever in this industry because it was such a and it, like I said, it onboarded a whole bunch of retail customers into that coin, and I don't think it's going to stop there. The market's trying to find its footing a little bit. Meme coins and the AI sector, I do think there's some. We can talk a little bit about that, but I do think it's going to find its footing here eventually. But what I really want to talk about is a little bit about Magic Eden because we talked about the beginning of the show. I absolutely love the platform, and I look at it as like I would tell our community about it. It's a one-stop shop. You know, you guys are innovating constantly. You have all sorts of chains. I mean, Bear Chain as of today was just released, and you could buy Bear NFTs on there. You could buy Ethereum NFTs, Solana NFTs. You could buy Bitcoin NFTs, the ordinals. You could buy runes. You guys are just innovating left and right out there. So again, hats off to the team. We'd love to just understand like Magic Eden's increasing like regulatory clarity over these NFTs and meme coins overall. What's the thought process there?
Yeah, man. I mean, thank you, by the way. Thanks for all the kind words. Like, that Magic Eden's nothing without our users, right? Truly. And being innovative, like all that is driven by wanting to give users the best experience possible, right? That's our North Star. Like, it's crazy how like so many tweets from like even like very small accounts with maybe like 40 followers were like posting it in like company chat, like, man, this is a really good point from this person. Like, we really should do this. Like, so like our user, everything to us, and this means so much here in that, man. So just really appreciate it. Yeah, the regulatory clarity stuff is, it's such a relief. Like, we're a serious company, man. We employ like 150 people, and like we're trying to do good things here and like play by the rules and all this stuff. And we've been looking over our shoulder for years because the administration wasn't acting, they were acting arbitrarily and capriciously, which means that they were just, arbitrarily going after people with really negative intent, right? And two courts found that. Two courts of the SEC is acting in an arbitrary, capricious manner. I mean, that's wild, right? This doesn't happen like decades. So like it was really kind of just a witch hunt for the industry, and that makes you look over your shoulder, right? Like we want to be like we want to be one of like the largest projects out there and like employ people and like really contribute to the development of Web3 and crypto, and to have to like constantly worry about whether or not you're going to have some changing goalpost regulator come in and just like try to destroy your company. Because oftentimes it's not even like, hey, we don't necessarily like a certain thing you're doing, and if you shut that down, we'll work with you and it'll be okay. It's we don't like you or what you do or your users or your industry, and you need to shut it down. And we say, well, we're not going to do that. That's our company. And they say, well, too bad. Then we're going to try to drain you of your resources. We're going to try to get a fine of billions of dollars. I mean, the Ripple case is the great one, right? Ripple wins in court, huge win, right? but they had like a couple small things they lost on that were really not super relevant. But they won in all the big issues. So then you have sentencing around like, well, what kind of penalties will be applied for the very small things? And SEC's like $4 billion penalties, trying to put them out of business. It's like they were not collaborative. They were like very much vindictive, trying to shut people down. And man, just to like have that weight off our shoulder, it's nice because like we're like our employees are folks with like with kids like who they wanted to put in college, and like I'm sitting here like, man, if they come in and start hitting us with like multi-million-dollar lawsuit, like like that's going to really damage this business. It could put us out of business. So it's been really tough to operate in this industry for some time. So I'm really excited for this new age of, and right now we don't have a lot of clarity. That's to come. That was a big part of David Sachs' speech. Like, hey, we're going to work on some rules of the road, which we're all excited for because then we can just follow the rules. Then we really don't have to worry. But what they did say is like, hey guys, take a breath. No longer are you in a place where it's a witch hunt and we're trying to shut you down. We want to work with you. And that by itself is just such an incredible sea change and shift. And I couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah, it's such a different way of looking at it. And I don't blame you. I mean, everybody at Magic Eden, yourself, from the legal team to BD team to marketing, everyone's probably like now we can kind of do what we want to do here. And one thing I love about Magic Eden is that you make it just easier and really safer for people to transact. I love the platform. I love the Magic Eden wallet. I use it constantly. Like the swap feature, to be able to swap from Bitcoin to Solana without going and find a bridge. It's just smooth. The user interface is smooth. And shout out to the Magic Eden support team. This is like maybe 10 days ago or something. I transferred a substantial amount of money to my Magic Eden wallet. I kind of forget what I was doing, to be completely honest with you, but it was thousands of dollars. And I was trying to do something with it. Maybe it was swap, or it wasn't buying ordinals or runes, but it was like maybe doing a swap or something. I forget exactly what it was, but it wouldn't work. And I was like, I have done this 40 times. What is going on? Like, I was baffled. And I can usually like troubleshoot my way through it, like with just like my degenning ability of like, well, let's just close our eyes and click this button. But it really gives you some guardrails that you can't do that. So I hit up the chat. Like, I am not one to like hit up like the little chat bot. Eventually, after like 30 minutes of trying it out, I'm like, I'm baffled. I hit up the chat bot. Someone immediately picked up and they're like, hey, do you have a rare sat in your wallet? I'm like, I have no idea. Let me look, because it was like I have a few different wallets. They're like, give me your wallet address. They like look, they're like, yeah, you have a rare sat. They're like, this is all you need to do. Give me the step-by-step instructions of what I need to do to enable this, and boom. 3 minutes later, I was off and running. I was telling Joe, my counterpart, I was like, dude, it was like the next day. I was like, dude, I like F OpenSea and Blur and these other marketplaces because like I can't even get a hold of anybody. I was like, why is my money stuck here? Had no idea what was going on. And it was like this quirky thing with a rare sat in my wallet. Customer service couldn't have been more helpful. It gives me like this 4 step-by-step instructions. Like, I don't think anybody couldn't follow these instructions of how to make it work. And bam, I was up and running. So really shout out to the support team. I do really appreciate that.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna tell them you sent that. I'm send the message along. They're gonna really appreciate that. I mean, this is kind of like getting back to what I was saying before. Like, our users are everything to us, and like I think we're very like, one thing that's like our superpower is that we're very like self-aware, and we're okay. Like, we don't have a big ego here. Like, we're not going to be perfect. Our products are going to have bugs from time to time, but damn it, we're going to work our butts off to like fix it, to make it better, to improve the user experience, and we're going to do that every day we show up, right? And we know it'll get better over time, and like it's going to be a better experience for everybody. And like that only works if your users are happy, right? You only earn the right to do that if the people who are using your product and your platform are in a good spot, good headspace. So like, I mean, we were all in NFTs before we were in Magic Eden, most of us, and like there were some frustrations with existing marketplaces at the time. There's like no customer support, really tough to work with. We're like, that's not going to be us, right? So we have like a big ops team, and they're great. Like, they love NFTs, they get it. Like, they're in the trenches too. Like, they can help troubleshoot these things. So like, I'm so glad you had a great experience. We have a lot of people who say great things about our ops teams, and yeah, thanks for the love, man. We're gonna keep sort of like pressing that as like one of our competitive advantages, right? Like, we care so much about the user. Like, that sets us apart, I think. Like, we're not just like cold builders in the corner and we ship something we expect everyone to go, oh wow, like this is incredible. Like we want to work with our community, we want to be in the weeds with them, and that's a big part of this token too. Like it really like brings everyone in the room together. So we're yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate the kind words.
No doubt, man. I got skin in the game too. I love it. And I'm not just saying that because I have the token or anything. I mean, OpenSea had a 3-lap lead on everybody in the marketplace world. And I worked at DraftKings at the time, and we had a marketplace. And I was like, man, I still don't know how they fumbled that bag. But it seems like Magic Eden's the complete opposite. They care about the users. They understand that it's about the users at the end of the day. Bring the users, keep innovating, and you're going to be successful. It doesn't even seem that hard saying it out loud, but I guess when you're just like printing money hand over fist like OpenSea was at the first day, they just kind of got lost into just like, but MySpace was a thing before Facebook. And now, nobody goes to MySpace anymore. And, Facebook's obviously getting kind of like drawn out a little bit. But from an analogy standpoint, Magic Eden absolutely smashing it. So anybody that's listening to this, if you're not using Magic Eden, not financial advice, but definitely just check it out. It's my favorite platform. It's one of my favorite wallets. You can just do so much with it, and the team absolutely rocks. Again, one more shout out to the support team. Before we wrap up here, I want to ask you one last question. Well, I got 2 questions for you. Before we wrap up this Magic Eden part, would love to know, give us a little alpha. Anything coming out with Magic Eden that we should be on the lookout for?
Oh man, we got a couple of things coming. I'm trying to think of like our roadmap. So we kind of we were actually having an internal huddle. We're like, man, all this work went into getting a bunch of products out, and then the token happened, and then it's been kind of quiet like a little bit. I mean, we went on Bera and like Abstract. But we view that as table stakes. Like, you kind of just got to be there for these things. Like we haven't been like dropping a lot of like new stuff recently. And that was like for 2 months now. 2 months ago we kind of flagged that. We're like, we got to fix this shit. We got to like we have culture. We think culture eats strategy for breakfast. And then one of the key, we have like 4 or 5 cultural points. And like the first one is let's fucking win. LFW. Yeah, man. I mean, you got to stay hungry. You don't want to be MySpace, right? No way.
Yeah, you don't.
So we got more in the pipe.
I love it. I love it. Again, everybody check out Magic Eden. They're crushing it. Last question here for you before I want you to give a shout out so people can find you in Magic Eden. But last question is, we're going back to good old Big Daddy Bitcoin. Do you think we're going to see a Bitcoin reserve this year? And just love to know your thoughts about that.
Yeah, Brian, this is such a fun conversation. It's just like so fun to talk about street Bitcoin reserve. Like we went from like Bitcoin being this fringe thing to like maybe the U.S. government will strategically own it. Like let's take a moment to like appreciate where we're at now. This is pretty special. You know what? Like the executive order is like unclear. It says like we'll look into this, and like all the statements from the administration are kind of hedging of like, oh, we should, we'll have to look into it, all qualifying. But I'm an optimist, man. I think we get it. I really do. Like we're already having a handful of countries who publicly came out, like El Salvador, Bhutan, and said they've done this thing. But there's a lot of other sovereign wealth funds and countries that are kind of like quietly accumulating here and there. I think there's already kind of a race going on. And the minute the U.S. says like, and by the way, by announcing a potential SBR, that race is picked up. And when we do it and we're actually in, there's no reason why every G20 country shouldn't have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. I think it's going to be off to the races.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was just telling my mother-in-law the other day, I got her into Bitcoin years ago, and we were just having like a little recap. She's like, how's it going? Because I am very aware of how annoying I can get when I talk about crypto. Like I play golf with buddies and they get on, but like it's like someone telling you about their fantasy football team if you're not into it. I'm like, I don't care if you're starting Derrick Henry, man. But if somebody wants to engage with me, like I'm all about it. And I was telling her, she was like, where do you think Bitcoin could go from here? And I was like, might chop for a little bit of while. There's some macro factors going on, but things look very positive. I was telling her about the press conference with David Sachs. I was like, we're only a couple weeks into this administration, and there's only things that point to bullish news. And I was like, honestly, if we get a Bitcoin strategic reserve, it wouldn't be surprised that we just start to speed run up. I don't know what that price point is. Is it 200,000? Is it 500,000? Is it $1 million? I think the sky's the limit because if we do with Cynthia Lummis, I believe. Is it Lummis or Loomis? I need somebody to clarify.
I say Lummis, but I could be wrong about that. She's fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, she's awesome out of Wyoming. I say Lummis too. I need to ask somebody smarter than me. So we'll stick with Lummis. But Senator Lummis,
let me know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows except her. So I'm gonna have to look into this. Can't be hard to find out. But when she proposed the bill to buy Bitcoin over 5 years, and if that when that actually gets executed and signed, every millionaire, fund, city, state, country in the world is going to start speed racing to buy Bitcoin to front run the United States. I mean, it just feels like that. And like you said, it's probably happening and we don't even really know it yet. But we're so reactionary as just humans. Like once it's like really getting voted on and it looks like it's going to happen, we're going to be off to the races. And she's like, should I buy more? I go, I can't. I go, I don't know what your financial situation is. I go, I have no idea. But I go, I'm personally dollar cost averaging in every chance I get, and that's where I feel comfortable with it. And I know the risks, kind of like what the SEC Pierce was saying, what she was saying. I understand the risks. I understand that there could be a curveball out there and things, get kind of nasty and maybe things don't come to fruition like we hope, but it just seems like all signs point to yes. Just really excited for the future here. Really excited having you on the podcast. I want to give you an opportunity to call out. So if people in the audience want to find you, find Magic Eden, just give you a couple seconds here to shout out.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. And one quick thing, one bullish thing on Bitcoin. It's at 98,000 or so, and the fear and greed index is like 38. Extreme fear.
I saw that. I saw that too.
That's a good sign. Yeah. So my name's Joe. It's been great, man. Like Brian, this has been such a pleasure chatting. I'm at Shoe Dog. The first O is a 0 on Twitter. Check out magiceden.io and the Magic Eden Twitter handle. We got all the news there. So yeah, come check out the platform. Check out our cross-chain swaps. They're great. You can go Bitcoin, Sol, easy peasy, no problem.
They're legit too, guys. I use it all the time, multiple times a week. It just is so user-friendly. I can't give you more of a shout out, Magic Eden. Everyone, I'm going to put those links down below so you can check out Magic Eden. You can check out their wallet. You can find Joe if something happens. You can chirp him on the back end.
Hit me up. Always happy to hear from people. So
thanks.